No, just us two.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
so you'll be recording this. Great. Would you be able to send me this demo after?
I sure can. Not a
Okay,
problem.
great.
So I was just reading through the notes here. But before I dive into this, I'd like to get a general idea of what it is you're looking for. So today we'll be looking at the timekeeping and our scheduling platforms, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me an idea of what you guys currently do for timekeeping.
Um, well, it depends, I guess. Well, no, for for um for timekeeping, we usually just fill in a paper with our hours, and
Okay.
then that's given to our bookkeeper, who would then um, go on and send it to our payroll person. We're we're a social enterprise and we're a nonprofit, so we're part of a group of agencies like ours. So our payrolls are done through is done through them. So we would send our payroll information, and then our bookkeeper would kind of manually put in the uh, subtract like the benefits and the pension and whatnot.
Okay.
Um, so that's for our staff. Same thing would be like if we're asking for time off, we would just fill in a paper. It would get signed by our BD or our manager, and then that would be given to the bookkeeper, and then she would kind of put it in the system. She uses Sage 50,
Sage 50.
um, which I was told is not good for importing things from other softwares. So
Okay.
yeah, and what else? So for that's our staff. So before I go before I go on, I'll just kind of explain a little bit of what we are, so that what I'm saying makes sense.
Okay.
So part of our social enterprise, as part of our, we have a day program where we have a group of 30 individuals. They're all adults with intellectual disabilities that come and work here. So, and then we have a group home. We are building another group home, so we'll be getting that probably within the next year. So we would have a couple more staff. Um, for our day program, we have 6 staff, I would say, and then for the home, there's probably about 10. So we're about 16 right now altogether. The group home is shift work, so there's all kinds of shifts. The night shifts would be paid at a different rate. The staff holidays are paid at different rates. And for the day program, it's just straightforward, like 8:30 to 4:30. No holidays, no weekends type thing. Like they would just get paid for a regular day if we're not here. Um, Now for the day program, uh, we have a lot of programming and leisure activities that are not paid for. And then we have our social enterprise work, like kindling, for example. So if they're working on kindling, they would get paid for those hours. Um, or for there's a couple things that they would get paid for while they're here. And then we do a lot of work in the community. So we have little contracts here and there. So basically, let's say I'll explain one of our services. We have it's called Home Services. It's a program where we go and we help seniors in their house to do whatever they might need, like pack wood or clean, whatever they might need help with. So for example, so that would be they would get paid a specific rate for that. Then we have contracts here at the university and we clean their grounds. So at any given point, there's lots of people doing lots of things. And scheduling is kind of busy. I have been using a paper calendar. We have a big calendar that's never big enough. So basically, I have to keep track of who's doing what for how long in order to pay. So every 2 weeks, I would go to my paper calendar and I would count, try to figure out, okay, home services, how many hours were worked in total? And then I have to go figure out okay, how many hours did John work at home service? And I have to like do it all manually, and it's just, you know, kind of, it gets confusing. So I'm kind of looking for the program, for programming wise, I'm looking for something I can schedule that's easy to schedule, that I can know what everything that's going on during the day, but I can also kind of pinpoint a specific person. And then every 2 weeks or at the end of the month, whenever we're doing billing for our contracts, I can just go see, okay, how many hours were worked for home services by everybody, like how many hours in total, so that we can send an invoice. But I would also like to know how many hours were worked in home services by one specific person or any other programs that we do.
Okay, so quite a lot that you need to track. And our
Yes.
system can track a lot, but give me an idea of how many activities like the day group would have. How many totals would the system need to track for us to pay them?
To pay,
Yeah.
let's see, it would be kindling, shredding. I'd say 4 for now.
Okay. And then what about the night shift? Do they have the same activities or different jobs that they would get paid for?
So the night shift would only be for the staff at the group home,
Okay.
and that would be paid at a single rate.
Okay, so
So
night
for
is
example,
right.
the way it works, and I'm not sure if that would be able to be set up, but they get paid, because it kind of gets tricky with the overtime hours, because they don't get paid per hour for the night shift. It's like a sleep shift, so it's not, because they don't get paid the same thing as if they were working during the day.
Okay.
So for example, when they do the night shift, they would get paid a chunk, and then they work 2 hours in the morning while the other staff are coming in. And for those 2 hours, they would get paid the regular daily rate, for example, like the regular daily hour rate.
Okay. And so how are you tracking that now? You just know that off the top of your head, so you're able to make those calculations, or?
Yeah, like our bookkeeper has all that information. So when she gets the paper with all the hours that were marked down, she would kind of just go and figure it out manually.
Okay. So tell me the types of employees that you have, because I've heard a few different types there.
Yes. Okay. So I'll separate it. So for the group home, we have full timers, part timers, and casuals. That's pretty much it. And there would be a couple different pay rates just for like supervisors and staff.
And the pay
Then
rates change based off of what?
the pay rates, so it would be, so anyone who, there's one supervisor. So anyone who's not a supervisor, okay, well, no. Some of our management teams are paid by the group home. So there would be a couple different pay rates there, like our director, our manager, and one of our staff here, the day program, are paid through. Yeah, I don't know how to explain, so that makes sense. But pay rate for any staff, it would be like the same way unless they were a supervisor or a night shift type of thing. If that makes sense.
I'm trying to make.
So let's say I'm just gonna make a. So let's say I don't know the exact rate. So let's say the staff would get paid $20 an hour for the group home. The supervisor, let's say, would make 25, let's say. Then the manager would have a different rate, and the ED would have a different rate. But like everybody else, basically, unless they're management, everybody else would be making $20 an hour per se for anywhere from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay.
And then, oh yeah, go ahead.
So all of the pay rate information, that's going to be stored in the payroll, right, in the Sage 50. So
Right.
we don't need to worry about tracking pay rates or wages in the timekeeping or the scheduling program. What we need to be concerned about or leery of is if those pay rates change throughout the day based off of a shift that they're working on or a job that they're doing. And if that's the case, how are we tracking that? So our system is primarily designed to keep track of employee time, right? How many hours they're working in a day, what time they're arriving, they're punching a clock, what time they're taking lunches or breaks, and then finally what time they're leaving for the end of the day. So our system can record all of that, but there are mechanisms that we have to track jobs or locations or mileage or tips. And there are ways that these clocks can collect that information. Now, let's say, for example, I work in the morning shift at $10 an hour, but then in the afternoon I work and I make $15 an hour. Our system can track those different pay rates, even though the pay rate information is stored in payroll. But we want to tell the system, okay, for these 4 hours when he's working in the morning shift and he's making $10 an hour, we're going to track those hours separate than he's working in the afternoon shift making $15 an hour, right? We need to tell the system to start tracking at a different pay rate. Does that make sense?
Yes. So for a day program, for example, there's all kinds of, well, there's not all kinds, but there's different kinds of pay rates. So for example, for our social enterprise, they would get paid a specific amount for the time they're working for our like paid activities. But if they're going out in the community, they would have a rate, a separate rate. And some jobs, depending on the job, they would get paid. They would have a different rate. So that would be really helpful for a day program where we kind of have to keep track of 30 people going out to various things where they do get paid at a different rate.
Sure. Well, let me show you how this system would track that. Can you see my screen okay?
It says Swipeclock and welcome.
Okay. So let me show you this. So the employees, they'll have a couple different ways that they can punch their time or record their time. So we've got the traditional clocks that you can hang on the wall. Okay, so that's a good system if everyone's coming to the same location every day and they can walk by a clock and scan their finger, punch in a pin entry, or scan a badge. Okay. The second way.
And do you provide those?
We do. It's just a one-time purchase, and then you'll own the clock. And those clocks, they simply just record the punch information and sync it to the back end of the system. So everything is cloud-based. Okay. So managers have a portal they can access to review all the time, run reports. And then employees have a portal as well where they can keep track of their own hours, keep track of their PTO hours, submit time off requests. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is the browser-based portal. So employees that have their own computer, they work remotely, they work in the office, they can use a computer-based clock. So they just come to this specific website, we give them login credentials, and they can quickly access a clock from a computer or a tablet. Okay. The third way is a mobile app. So they just download the mobile app, it's free. We give them the same login credentials as their online portal. And when they go to log into here, their home screen is the clock. So they're able to clock in and out through a mobile app as well. Okay. With the mobile app, you can also add location management. So if you'd like to get an idea of where the employee is at and you want to see a little pin drop on a Google map, we can turn on geo-tagging and geo-fencing. So that way you can keep track of your employee's location when they're using a mobile phone to clock in and out every day. Okay. So how these clocks work let me go back to the online one here, is when I first log in, I have the ability to clock in and out. Now, when we want to record what jobs or location or departments they're in, what we're able to do is design clock prompts. So this prompt is a custom question, so you can label it whatever you would like, and we can provide a drop-down menu with selections for them to choose from, so jobs, locations, okay? Or we can leave this open so they can form fill, so they can type in whatever they would like.
I would prefer the drop-down menu, for sure.
It's a better way to go, in my opinion, because it reduces mistakes. And that way you can run reports off of these questions. Okay, so that'll help you narrow.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So then, for example, we would set up, for each employee, for example, we would set up the things that they actually can log in for. So let's say Billy would have these are the different jobs that he might be able to do at any given time. And then Paul would have different, like, is that?
You can do it that way. How it's designed to work is we create groups of employees. So whether that be the morning shift, the day shift, the community workers, your regular staff, and within that group of employees, most of them tend to have the same questions, right? So what'll happen is each group will have their own number of questions to answer. Okay, but you can add employees to multiple groups if you would like.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? So because a lot of our programming is unpaid, like let's say going to the pool or going to the gym or having a book club or a music club or whatever, those are not paid, but I would like to have them as part of the scheduling part so that we can really see what's going on during the day. Could we do that too, to set them up where we wouldn't?
So this is just the timekeeping component. The scheduling side is completely different, but the answer is yes. So once we look at the scheduling component, this is just, do you want to record your employees' times, right? Right now they're writing them down manually and turning them in. Is that working for you? Yes. If so, great. If you wanted a better, more accurate system to track exactly, what their workday is or what projects they worked on throughout the day and for how long, then we would want to introduce some type of clock so we can track down to the minute those hours.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So once we decide which clock the employees you want to utilize, and they can use them all. So I could start in the morning at a computer and clock in, and then later that evening I could pull out my mobile device and clock out.
And then same thing with the physical clock that would be on the wall, let's say.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And so we just want to make sure that we have a universal clock across the board so we have the ability to ask the employees questions, right? What job are you doing? What location are you at? And then that acts as a trigger. So based off of what job or what location they select, that will tell the system to track it at a $10 pay rate or a $15 an hour pay rate. Okay. So we'll track the times and the triggers in the system when we consolidate all the hours when we're preparing it for payroll and we submit them that report. All the hours and all the codes will align so that we can see, okay, for the pool, Bill was paid $10 an hour. When he went over to the community, we paid him $15 an hour. So everything will align with our system and the reporting when you send it over to payroll. Okay. So that's something that we do on the back end. Yeah. So it's called mapping, right? Data mapping or code mapping. That's what we call it.
Okay.
So
for example, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If I wanted to keep with the timekeeping piece, if I wanted to track how much one person worked in all of the different job categories, I can do that. But if I also want to know how much they worked for one community employment, I can do that as well.
You sure can. So if I switch screens on you, this is your manager's portal. Okay. So this is where you yourself would log in. And over on the left is your navigation. Okay. So most of your time is spent in the time card section. And this just basically allows me to review all my employees' timesheets every day. So it'll show me what time they've arrived and what time they've taken lunches or breaks or what time they've clocked out, okay? Now I can click on any one of these employees and it will show me their timesheet for the pay period. Because we just started a pay period yesterday, so the 1st through the 15th, right? So I can go back a pay period and it will show me all of that employee's hours, okay? Including if they forgot to clock out on any given day. Okay, so this is where you're going to come to review all the hours, make sure that it's accurate, and of course fix any mistakes. So as a manager, this employee forgot to clock out. So I can quickly edit this and put in what time he left in the morning, and then I can leave a note for myself. Okay, so I can come in here and make edits, adjustments. I can correct time cards. Okay, but this is going to show us all of the information. So do you see these columns up top here?
Right.
So you're going to have a column to show us the total hours for the day. But also, when we design those clock prompts, each one of those prompts has an associated field so we can see the information. Okay, so as this employee arrives, he clocked into site or location 20, and here's the job that he's doing. Okay, so as your employees clock in and they tell you what location they're at, what job they're doing, if it's a payable job versus a non-payable job, you'll be able to see that information directly on their timesheet. Okay, now I can run a report and I can consolidate all of this data. So on the left here, I just come to my reports menu. And it expands 19 different reports to choose from. The most common is a summary report. This allows me to select a date range. And then I can select and filter the information that I want. So if I want to select those clock prompts, it will show me all of the different locations or jobs and how many hours was worked at each one of those jobs or locations by that employee.
Oh, so I technically wouldn't have to run a different report for each employee. Like if you choose all the employees, it would give you, so if I have, for example, because I see just that it says regular, I'm not sure what that means, but if I have, let's say, home services and I have, excuse me, if I have the park, if I have whatever, like that would come in the report for that specific person with the total hours?
It sure will. Yeah, so you can run it for an individual employee or you can run it for all the employees at once, completely up to you. Okay, so this report, I just threw all my employees in here, but yes, it will show me all of those different activities that they've selected when they were clocking in or out. Okay, so that way you can see in specific areas how much time was spent. So regular is just regular hours, right? It's a regular hour throughout the day. It's not overtime, it's not overtime, it's not holiday. But if someone does work overtime, you will see that on this report. You'll also see if they took any holiday or vacation. Because in this system here, we're going to track all of that PTO that the individuals acquire. Now, employees.
Do you mind if I take a screen? I know it's going to be very small and you're going to give me the recording, but do you mind if I take a screenshot of just the report? I won't get your face in it.
No, you're totally fine. I can actually send you this.
Yes, that would be great because
Yeah,
I have to talk to my boss about it, and sometimes explaining it without a
absolutely.
visual prompt is really hard.
Oh yeah. No, so from here, I can print this report or I can throw it into a spreadsheet just by one click.
Okay.
So I'll save this and I'll send you a copy of it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So the reporting is going to be extremely easy, and you'll be able to filter out all that information that you're looking for. Okay. Now I notice on here that the PTO is a big one for you guys.
Yes.
So our system is designed to create custom PTO tracking. So if I
Okay, before we
switch,
move on to that though, can I just ask you one more question that was
of
related to kind
course,
of the report that we were talking about?
of course, yeah.
So I can see that you can print out per person and how much that person was worked. But for billing purposes, would I be able to run a report on, let's say, just home services and how much, like for how much was worked for home services with everybody that worked there with a total so that I can kind of just print that and know how much I need to invoice? Does that make sense?
No, it's not a standard report. So these columns are the clock prompt questions. They're not the answers, if that makes sense. So on this prompt here, I'm running a report off of the location, not off of the selections. So the standard report will show you all of the locations broken down. But let's say, for example, I wanted to run a report and just say, show me site 16. I'm not able to filter it that far down. I believe we could make you a custom report to show that information. It's just not a standard report in this list.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense? So essentially,
Yeah.
if your question here said job or activity, and then you had swimming, what are some of the other activities that you have?
Swimming, pool, kindling, book club.
So those would be your selections, right?
So I could select one of those.
So as an employee, I would make my selection. When I'm a manager and I want to run a report, I'm going to run the report off of the activity. So I'm not able to filter it down and say, okay, tell me how many hours were worked by this gentleman at the pool. Okay, it will show you that on the report, but it'll show you the other items as well, because we're looking at that entire category, not the selection.
Okay, and that makes sense. But is there a way that we could have it so that I would know? Because, like, for our would there be a way to break it down so that whoever we have a contract with, whether that's a category, whether that's a job site, or however we could set it up so that if I wanted to run a report, just so that I could bill, let's say, the university for raking the grounds. Would I be able to do that somehow?
So how do you know which invoice goes to which client? How are you tracking that now?
Basically, well, for the university, they would give us because there's different departments, so they would just give us like a pay order type of thing that I would have to add that to my invoice. But other than that, I just know what job we're doing and how much it pays. Like most of the jobs are paid at minimum wage in the community, so it's not like the pay rates are not necessarily different. Just a couple of them are. But how do I give? Yeah, I just know that we have a certain job and how much it pays.
Sure.
So I would kind of just count the hours manually. It's the counting of the hours manually that's hard, because I would have to go and count, like go back in our paper calendar and count. Okay, so let's say we had 15 people working for home services for a specific month. So I need to count all those hours that they worked so that I can go and bill for for that contract, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. So like I said, a standard report won't allow you to do that, but there is a way to do it. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is I've consolidated that report into a CSV file. So you'll notice that I've got my prompt, and then we've got the selections that was made.
Okay.
So without having a custom report into place, what we'd do is we would run this report and we would find the site that we're looking for, and then we would just add that to each additional site that we found. So we, in essence, would manipulate this Excel summary report. Okay. So we would just go find all of the correct and add those together with the total hours. We could design.
So would you do that by sorting the column?
You could do it by sorting the columns. You could do it by searching for just, either the pool selection or the kindling selection. So this report will show you all of that information, all the employees that worked and where they worked for how many hours. Yeah. And that total hours worked is through the time frame that you selected. So is it a 1 week period? Is it a 2 week period? Okay. So for this 2 week period, Phil here, he worked at site 17 for a total of 7.5 hours.
Right.
Okay.
And that's great for me to be able to pay our workers for their work. Yeah, it would just be the invoicing part. So like if I was to use this report, for example, for my invoicing, I would still have to kind of add them manually, sort of, right?
Correct. Yeah. Just through the Excel. So we'd have to come in here and find all of the specific job and the total hours. But we could build you a custom report that would allow you to filter it down one more. So on this summary report, I would select my date range that I'm looking for.
Right.
And then I would select my fields, but then we also might be able to have the selectable options for you to choose from. So that way, if you wanted to search just for the pool or just for kindling, you would be able to do that.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah, it's just not a standard report, that's all. We'd have to design that for you.
And pricing-wise, if you were to design that, would that be a lot more?
No, it's just a one-time fee right around $200, $250, I believe. And then we just design it once for you, save it, and then it shows up in your reports menu over on the left. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I realize that most employers wouldn't need that type of specific report because they don't have so many.
Oh no, you'd be surprised. We have a lot of clients that need to filter it down. So no, it's not uncommon whatsoever.
No, but I can see why. I can see why the standard part you wouldn't need it. And then if you need it, you build it in.
Correct. Yeah.
If most people wouldn't need that, I get that.
Yeah. So this will go down pretty far, but it still leaves all the selections available. But we could design one for you. Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I understand that we can go and sort it out, but if it's possible to have that, I can just look for a specific job and know how much was worked in total. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, and you can do that by the day for each employee, or you can do it for the week for one employee or all the employees. It's just up to you based off of your filter options.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
So lots of reports in here. There's very little that you won't be able to find. As long as we're pulling it into our system, we can report on it in a number of different ways.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about the PTO.
Yes.
So PTO is extremely simple in our system. So in the manager's portal, as employees request time off, they're going to show up. So they're just on your main menu right here at the top. Time off requests. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you select that, you're going to come into here, and this is just going to show you all of the employees that have submitted time off requests.
Okay.
Okay. and it's going to show you when they made the request, by which employee. And in our system, we can design multiple buckets. So some clients, they'll have a sick bucket that employees can use hours for, or they've got a vacation or a personal. So you just tell us, do you need one bucket with all the hours, or do you need multiple buckets? And then that way, employees can decide, I want to take hours out of my personal bucket instead of vacation. Okay, so they get to choose.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we use, I don't know if you're familiar with Time.
I'm not. No, what is that?
So it's kind of like banked hours. So we can't, as a nonprofit, we can't pay overtime.
Okay, so you do banked hours?
Yeah. So let's say if we have staff training, let's say, and we're going to stay after work for 2 hours. For those 2 hours, we're not going to get paid overtime for those 2 hours. We're just going to bank them and then use them at a later time. So let's say tomorrow I stayed 2 hours late tonight, so tomorrow I want to come in 2 hours early. I'm still going to get paid for the full day, but we do keep track of how many hours we bank and then how many hours we've used.
Okay, not a problem. So we call that comp time.
Okay.
And essentially that's what we do, is we'll just say 40 hours in a work week or 8 hours in a day is standard. If you work more than 8 or more than 40, we're going to take those hours and we're going to roll them into a comp time bucket. And that bucket, if I'm an employee, can be found in my portal online.
Okay.
In my time off section.
Okay.
They also have this on their mobile phone as well.
Great.
Okay. So
I was just thinking maybe the new time is just a Canadian word, because I had another meeting with someone and I had talked about new time and they didn't know what that was either, and then they gave me another word. Yeah.
Oh, did they? So many different acronyms or terminology in this industry, aren't there?
Yes.
So, well, either way, we can accommodate, no problem. So this is the employee side.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just tell us how to write the policies. So for instance, sick, right? We may give you 3 days sick right out the gate. But say vacation or personal, you have to accrue that every 2 weeks based on the amount of hours that you worked. So you actually earn it over time. So we don't care what your policy is. We just design the buckets, including that comp time bucket. And then that comp time bucket will update every 2 weeks or every pay period, not every day. Is that okay?
Yeah. So so as an employee, for example, because the comp time bucket would be a little bit different than your vacation time, because it's time that you accumulate. It's not necessarily, you don't start with your 120 hours of vacation time, let's say. Would it be set up that you kind of come in and you would you would type in, I worked 4 hours extra, or does the manager have to add that in?
Are you talking about PTO hours?
Yeah, like the comp time.
So the comp time, what we would do is we would do a couple of different things. So if I just come to today's entries and I just select an employee time card, we're going to keep track of their PTO. Okay, but typically what we do is we tell the system how to automatically calculate, so you don't have to touch it. If you do need to come in here and manipulate those numbers, you do have the ability to under the maintenance menu. You've just got your accrual balances. Okay, so this will allow me to come in here and manually adjust any of my totals for my employees. But it's not going to change the policy that we have in place, that is adding or subtracting hours as the employee earns or uses them. Does that make sense?
No, sorry.
Okay, so for instance, let's say your sick time, you give employees 3 days right when they're hired.
Okay.
Okay, and it'll just sit there until I decide to use one of those sick days. My vacation time, however, because I'm a full-time employee, I can't start earning that for 90 days. After 90 days, I earn 1 hour for every 40 hours that I work in a work week.
Mm-hmm.
So we tell this vacation policy bucket every 40 hours that I work to throw in 1 hour into this bucket. So 6 months
Right. We
down
don't
the
have
road,
we just have the fixed rate. So like, it would be, let's say 3 weeks a year. You
it's all
can take it
fixed?
anytime from this time to this time. Yeah.
Okay. If it's all fixed rates, then yes. Then we could leave it so you would just manually be able to update it at will. And essentially what a manual policy does is, yeah, you just say how many hours to plug into each bucket. And then as employees request and use that time off,
Mm-hmm.
so if I took 8 hours or 20 hours, we just deduct that amount of time from this bucket total here, so that it's
Yeah, and
always
that makes
accurate.
sense.
Yeah.
The only thing I was wondering is like the bank time. Like, is it the employee that adds it in, like how many hours they banked, or would that be the manager
It
that
would
would
be
bank it?
it
Like,
would it would be the manager, and it would be automatic based off of what we tell the system. So I can kind of show you this. This won't make sense to you, but I'll show you anyways. So on the back end of the system, this is where we design it for you. This is where we write all the rules and tell the system to automate all your tracking.
okay.
Okay. So what we do is I believe we have a comp time rule. Oh, nope. They've blended it into our accrual scripts. So essentially
Okay.
what we do is we tell the system, hey, here's a comp time. If there are more hours worked than 8 in a day, we're going to roll that over and plug it into that comp time bucket. Now, do you want that comp
Oh,
time bucket visible to employees so they can see? It'll say like comp time, and it'll show how many hours they have in the bucket. And then you can even make it requestable. So as they go to request time off, they can select from the comp time bucket.
oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, that was my question.
Perfect. So yeah, it'll just be automatic, the comp time. It'll automatically recognize, hey, this many hours from this day or this week is comp time, so we're going to roll it over. And it'll
Okay.
populate in that bucket. But if you need to go change that as a manager, you easily can go add hours or remove hours if you need to.
Okay. So now I mentioned that the night shift for the group home was paid a different rate than our daily hourly rate.
Okay.
So because it's not necessarily counted as 8 hours, and then they work 2 hours in the morning where they would get paid the regular daily hour for the day, how would you, or is, how do I ask so that makes sense? Would it be doable to, like, those 2 hours in the morning that they would work, they would be regular hours paid, not comp time? So would we be able to arrange it, for example, to have a night shift option so that it counts differently than the day shift option, so that
Yes.
if you're working 10 hours, it doesn't count for just for that shift?
Yes. So again, that's just a rule that we write into the back end of the system. So for instance, I would come down here to my shift script.
Okay.
And I would tell the system what your shifts are. So is it a morning, is it an afternoon, or is it a night shift? Now on the night shift, it will apply to this group of employees, whether they're full-time or part-time or some other way that we classify them. And when they work that night shift, they're going to make a selection on the clock itself. Okay, so we're going to have a column or a question that says night shift, yes or no. When they select yes,
Okay.
the system is now going to know that they're on the night shift here, and we can pay them accordingly, and we can track their hours accordingly. And then that way it doesn't get confused with the comp time. So yeah, we just need to learn exactly what those shifts are, what the length of time, if they roll over, from a Saturday night to a Sunday morning, so that we can identify when this is a night shift and how do we pay it and how do we track it accurately. So yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Good.
Okay. And then a lot of that is going to come into play with this scheduling component as well, right? So employees,
Okay.
they can check their schedule in their portals. Okay, so they can go online or they can go to their mobile device and they'll be able to check their upcoming schedule. Okay, now if they work in different locations, if they're able to work in different positions, that's totally fine. We just need to create a profile for that employee and say, here's where the employee can work because they're qualified, they're old enough, they have the certifications. So when we're creating schedules, this is where you can place this employee. Other employees will have restrictions, right? They can't work at certain jobs, they're not old enough, they don't have their CPR training, whatever. So we put those rules into place so they cannot be scheduled in those environments. Okay? And then it's up to you what you allow your employees to do with their schedule. Is it visibility only, meaning I can only look, but I can't touch, I can't modify? Or do we want to give them the ability to say, to drop a shift or swap a shift with a colleague? And if so, how do they do that? Right? Like, I don't want to work Friday afternoon. Will you trade me for Thursday morning? Yes, I will. So we can put in a way for that employee to go in there and request a swap shift. His manager will be notified, and then we can update the schedule accordingly.
Oh, okay. So they can either do it themselves, or you can have it as a request, and then the manager would approve it.
So they can start the request, but if you and I are colleagues and you and I wanted to swap schedules, you and I have an agreement in place, so I initiate the swap through my portal, but until my manager approves it, the swap doesn't take place. So they all require manager approval, okay?
Great.
They can also pick up open shifts. So if you've got a day that you're shorthanded, you can quickly identify which employees would be available, and you can send out a text or an email asking them if they would like to pick up a shift. Okay. So tell me how you create schedules now. You said that you do it on a paper worksheet. Are you creating them a week out, 2 weeks out, a month out? Tell me more about how you create schedules.
Well, I guess it depends for the staff and for the workers here. For the staff, to be honest, I have no idea how they're created for the group home. I don't know how she does it. I think they do it on a monthly basis as a template, and then things always kind of change, so they go in and fix it. I can't talk too much about that because I'm not the one that makes it. I do work with the schedule for the day program here, and the goal is to be able to make it for a whole week, really, in advance. With our paper calendar, it's kind of hard because we'll kind of schedule people and then they end up not coming, so you kind of like cross people over. So we do have to go through the schedule pretty much like on a daily basis to know. Sometimes we don't know if someone shows up or not, type of thing.
Now, when you create these schedules, are you creating them based off of blocks of time that need to be worked? So I've got a morning shift, a day shift, a night shift, and here's who I need on those shifts. Is that how you're creating them?
Most of the time, actually, sorry, I'll just backtrack. I had a thought. We only sort of schedule the work that they've been getting paid for, because that's what kind of we need to keep track of, and then the rest we've had like a pretty regular schedule, I guess, for everybody that was coming, but we're kind of changing that, and it's going to be very specific. Like our day's going to be divided into all sorts of like so in the same day we might have 10 different activities, and people are kind of doing different activities for the day.
Okay.
So yeah, I would like to get to the point that we're making at least a schedule a week in advance, and we know like we can specify really what's going on during and break the day down in hours. Can't really do that with the paper schedule that we have now.
Okay. Well, let me show you what I have. To be honest, it may not be the best fit that you're looking for because of how the system is designed to create schedules.
Okay.
So what you're seeing on your screen right now is the scheduling platform. It's called TimeSimplicity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The timekeeping system is TimeWorksPlus, which is what we were just looking at right here.
Right.
Okay. Now these two systems do talk to one another. So all my
Okay.
employees that I have in the timekeeping system, they are going to
Mm-hmm.
be pushed over into my scheduling program.
Okay.
Okay. So what we do very first is we create these employee profiles. And within that profile, we put in contact information so we can text and email them, let them know about their schedules, updates, changes, things of that nature.
Okay.
This is where we come in here and we create rules. So what type of template can this employee work? Are they under 16? Are they over 16? Can they work a 10-hour shift or are they limited to an 8-hour shift? What are their rules as far as closing one night and opening the next night or opening the next morning? So we put
Okay.
these rules into place so we can be compliant so we don't break any laws or have any issues when we're creating schedules for our employees. Okay? So we just put in rules, right? Their age, can they serve alcohol, what are their shifts, and how many hours in a day and a week can they work. From there,
Okay.
we put them in all the necessary groups that they can work in. So can they work in kindling, the pool, the community center? What areas can that employee all work in because they're certified, they're qualified, etc.
Okay.
Then we can put in preferences. So employees, you might be working with school students or single parents. So they may have days and hours that they prefer to work versus days and hours they can't work. So they can
Mm-hmm.
actually set up preferences that can be approved by a manager. And then if they're trying to be scheduled on one of those days where they cannot, an alert will pop up to help the manager.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we turn on notifications. How does this employee want to be notified? We've got text and we've got emails. So we can send out a
Okay.
text. Once you create the schedule, it's good to go for the next week and you publish it, each employee is going to receive a text message. If you
Okay.
change their schedule, if they forget to clock in on their shift, we can text them a reminder.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we put in benefits and time off. Are there any special rules surrounding this time off request or benefits for this particular employee? Okay. So once we get all of that put into place, now we can start creating our schedule. Now, how our
Can I
schedule?
just
Yeah, please go ahead.
so because you were saying that you can also set up the employee on the TimeWorksPlus, but I guess if you're getting both, they would be linked already, or would
will
they be
be.
different rules?
So one rule is going to be in timekeeping. The other rules are going to be set for scheduling, but they do work together.
Okay.
And the two systems do talk to one another. So you can run reports. You can see, okay, this employee was scheduled to work 76 hours, but according to his timekeeping history, he only worked 70 hours. And we can compare the data.
Okay.
Okay. So once we get the employee set up, we put their rules into place. We tell the system, here's where they can work, here's what they can't do. Then what we do is we create our groups. So our different
Okay.
departments, right? Cashiers, front office, back office, lifeguards. And once we create all those groups, then we create shifts of time for those individual jobs that need to be covered.
Okay.
So This system is a shift-based scheduling program. It's based off of, here's the amount of time in each day I need worked, and here are the employees that I need to fill those time slots. So is that how you envision a scheduling program working for you, is filling slots of time rather than filling open jobs? Because there's two different scheduling platforms. You've got job-based and you've got shift-based. Ours is shift-based.
And what would be the difference with the job-based? Oh, like the job-based would be the job that's being done.
Correct, yeah. A job-based would say, okay, I've got a swimming pool day and it's a birthday party and it's 3 hours long. Well, who do I want to cover that job? And I would create that job, I would create that 3-hour block of time, and I would assign it to the necessary employee.
Okay.
All right. Versus Monday, we're open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and we're open in the bakery, the deli, and the front office. And I have 6 positions that I need to fill, and I'm going to drag and drop those positions to the necessary employee.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess it, in a way, I'm not sure if it really matters whether it's based on the shift or the job, as long as I can schedule all the different jobs. So for example, if we do it based on the shift, if our kindling, let's say we have, okay, so let's say on Monday, we have kindling available from 9 to 12, let's say.
Okay.
And then at the same time, I might have the book club going on from 9 to 12. And at the same time, I'm just throwing scenarios at you. And at the same time, I have, and then I'll have shredding from 10 to 12. Let's say that was our morning. And then in the afternoon, we'll have from 1 to 2, there's the gym available, but then there's also shredding available from 1 to 3. Would I realistically be able to do something like that with this program? Whether we do it by the shift or by the job?
So this is it's only shift, not job. For each one of these shifts, so say for the kindling shift and the book club, are they always at the same time or do they fluctuate?
They would pretty much be the same time. It's just that some people might work 2 hours at kindling and some might work 3, for example.
Okay.
So
the answer is...
if we... Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was gonna... Sorry. Sometimes there's like a little space and you don't know when the other person's gonna...
Yep.
Can I create multiple kindling shifts, for example? Can I have a kindling shift from 9 to 10, from 10 to 11, 11 to 12, also 9 to 12, and then in the afternoon? Like, can I have 6 different kindling shifts, 3 different shredding shifts, 2 pool shifts? Can I do stuff like that?
You sure can. So for each work group, right, which would be kindling, the book club, shredding, we can create as many shift templates as you want. They can be in 15-minute blocks, 30-minute blocks, or 1-hour blocks of time. So yeah, you could have 6 different kindling shifts, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1. They will all populate in your open shifts up here. And then all you do is you simply drag each block of shift time down to the employee to populate and work that shift. So I just have mine separated out by a full day, and my blocks of time is a full 8-hour shift. So we would just shrink your shifts down into 1-hour or 2-hour shifts, and then you're able to drag and drop those. And you can change the view of this scheduler. So you've got a calendar, you've got a schedule all view, so you can see every day what shifts you have available and who's scheduled.
Mm.
Okay. You've got, where's my other schedule review? It breaks it down into bars right here. I wish it was
Okay.
populated. But this will show you how many hours worked in each group or each department.
Oh,
Okay.
great.
So if we're tracking
For the week.
for the week, correct? And then you've also got, let's see if I can find this other view. Message center. Let's see if it's this one. Oh, that's my templates. So, oh, here we go. So this one, if we needed to break this down into 1 hour block of times like we've got here, you can actually see and move these shifts back and forth with these individual employees. So that way, if you've got
Oh, okay.
overlapping shifts, right, I can manipulate this.
And it would still, like, this would transfer back, like the same information would transfer back to whoever you want to you want to see it.
Correct. So there's different logins available. So you've got the admin. When they log in, right, they're going to see all the employees. They're going to be able to create all the schedules. But you can also give supervisor login, and you can control which employees they see, who they manage, who they schedule. So
Oh, great.
so if you want to delegate, you can definitely do that. So that one supervisor can only be over the bakery or the deli or the swimming pool or the kindling.
Oh, good, good.
Okay. So what happens is we can turn on all sorts of tracking bars. So you did mention overtime. Is overtime a big issue for you guys that we need to track?
Well, we wouldn't. We don't do overtime. Basically.
You don't do overtime. Okay. So we still tell the system how to track your overtime. In the event that it does happen, the system knows how to track it and update it accordingly. Okay.
Okay.
But essentially, the scheduling platform is going to send information back into timekeeping. Okay. In timekeeping here, we can run different reports on our schedules. So if we wanted to see a deviation report, this will tell me each time that an employee deviated from their schedule. So let me go back to the month of June. Okay, so it'll tell me when they were late, if they were early, if they were absent. So we can run a report to see, that employees are working their true hours that they're being scheduled for. You've also got a comparison. So if you wanted to do how many hours that employee was scheduled for versus what they worked, you're going to be able to pull that information too and even get a comparison. So this will help you keep track of labor costs and overtime. Okay.
Can for the shift I was going to ask you earlier with the scheduler.
With the scheduler, okay.
I know we had talked about having different pays for, let's say, different jobs. Would that be added in this part? So for example, we have for the different shifts, would we be able to set a rate for the shifts?
So that's all going to be done on the timekeeping side when we set that up.
Okay.
So if I go back into the back end of the system here, when we build this account for you, you'll work with an implementation specialist, and he'll work with you and your team to learn about the different pay rates for the different shifts.
Right.
Okay. And what we do is on the back end, we tell the system if you're this type of employee, full-time, part-time, staff, or if you're classified by a group and you work in this specific shift, we're going to pay you at this specific pay rate.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Now, the other option is to utilize those clock prompts, because these are going to act as triggers as well. So if they get paid a different rate, if they work at the pool versus if they work at the book club, this is where we tell the system, hey, I'm making $10 an hour for utilities, but I make $20 an hour for trash and recycling. So it's a
Right.
combination of both systems working together.
Okay.
So what we first...
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
So whether they are on the schedule for the shifts that we would have on the timekeeping, we would on the timekeeping part, we would know how much they would need to get paid based on what the jobs that they were scheduled for, correct?
Correct.
But they can also go in and do it manually clock in for each job as well.
Correct.
Is that it? Okay.
Correct. So there's a couple different scenarios here that we may run into that we haven't thought about, and that could be what job they're working and if they're on a night shift, right? So when we write the system, we want to make sure that we don't have any conflicting messages based off of what shift they're working and if they make a selection on this clock itself.
Okay.
Okay. So the shift is going to tell us what does it change their base rate of pay, but then if they're on the night shift, if they select a job, does their pay rate change again? Does that ever happen? Do you know? So I'm working a night shift, right? So I'm already getting paid a different rate. And then during the night shift, can they work multiple positions to get paid different rates again?
No, it would just be basically you're working the night shift, you're getting paid this different rate, and it's always the same rate.
Perfect. Then that is very easy to set up on the back end. We just tell the system what the shift rate is, the hours that it falls into, and then how to align it with payroll.
Okay, so the only thing that would be different would be for for our day program workers, when they're working certain jobs, they get paid. Like for kindling, they'll get paid an amount. For cleaning the park, they'll get paid an amount, and for pretty much everything else, they get paid a specific amount.
Correct. And right now, you're doing all that manually through your own thoughts and through your spreadsheet. What we're going to do now is we're going to consolidate that through a digitized system. So let's back all the way up to the beginning. Do you want your employees to punch a clock, or do you want them to record their time manually like they're doing now?
It would be nice to have them punch in a clock and then everything is sort of there. Like that's the goal.
Okay. That's what I would recommend based off of everything that I've heard, because it's going to streamline your process, right? The hard part is getting everyone to use a different system, right? A different method, right? From what they're used to. But if they start punching these clocks, whether it be through a mobile device or if they do it through a computer or a tablet, once they clock in, they make their selection on their job. And their selection is going to tell us what pay rate we're going to pay them at. Is it the bookkeeping rate or the book club, the kindling, the shredding, or the pool? Okay.
My only question with that is if they're doing multiple shifts during the day, like do they have to then clock out after their shift is okay? So let's say they're doing kindling for 3 hours. Okay. So I came in at 9 o'clock. I'm going right to the kindling. I clock in for kindling. Do I clock out after kindling, and then when I go to the next job, I clock in again?
So do you see this transfer button?
Yeah.
That's primarily what the transfer button is for. So I've clocked in, I've selected kindling, I go about it and I work on it for 3 hours. Now I'm being transitioned over to shredding. I pull out my mobile device, I hit transfer, I go find shredding, and then I finish clocking in.
Okay, so you don't clock out, you just transfer your day.
Correct. Yep. And then once they transfer it, we're gonna track a few different things. One, we're gonna track how long they worked on kindling for the first 3 hours. That's trackable and reportable. We're gonna show you the time that they moved and started working on shredding and how many hours they worked on shredding. But we're also going to tell the system at what pay rate to pay them at for each one of those individual jobs.
That sounds so great.
Yeah. So it's going to consolidate all of that for you, and then all you need to do is just run that simple summary report to consolidate all that data for the pay range, right? So you'll just make your
Which we would have
selections.
the additional drop-down menus too.
So yes, if I selected those, which I didn't. So yeah. So you can show all of those. You can select the different departments that you want to report on, and that will break it down for you completely. How many hours worked in which department for the date range.
Okay.
Okay.
So I do have a little. I think I have a pretty good idea. I do have to leave at 1. I have a call at a meeting at 1:30.
Yeah, we've got a few
And
minutes left. I mean, do you have?
I want to
any
eat
other
lunch
questions?
before that.
Absolutely. There's a lot to learn here, but we actually train you on everything. We get your accounts all set up for you. So you just work with us and give us the information we need to build everything, and then we make sure that we train you completely before we just roll it out for the company to use. We want to make sure that you're comfortable and confident using the system.
Okay. So my big question is, because it is very important, is the pricing.
The pricing, absolutely. So our pricing is extremely simple. It's just month to month. So there's no annual contracts, okay? It's pay as you go. It's a cost per employee per month, and that is $6. And that's for the timekeeping and the intelligent scheduling. And then you'll have a one-time setup fee of right around $500 to get you set up, trained, and then that also includes ongoing support for the life of your subscription with us.
Okay. So per employee per month for the timekeeping and the smart scheduling is $6, and that's US.
US, correct.
$6. Okay, plus a 500 plus tax, I'm assuming.
Correct, yeah.
Installation fee.
So setup and training, and then it also includes ongoing support.
As long as we sign up, I guess.
Yeah. So if you need help down the road, if we need to turn features on or off, or if we need to change something, that's all included. So that's $6 per employee per month. That will not change. That's pretty set in stone.
Okay.
And then the average setup time, what we do is we set up one system at a time. So we set up the timekeeping first, and that usually takes about a week or two. Get you guys using that, get you familiar with the system. And then we set up the intelligent scheduling program, and that takes about a week or two. And we help you with both systems. You'll have a rep checking on you weekly, making sure that you don't have any questions, that you're able to run the reports and get the information. Now, you said Sage 50 is not very good at importing information.
That's what I was told.
Okay. So we'd want to have a deeper conversation there, because our system is designed to work with payroll platforms such as Sage, where we can easily pull data out of ours and easily upload it into yours. So I may want to have another conversation about that with you.
I mean, I don't know how. I guess we'd have to try.
Or just ask your colleague that works with Sage if she's got a sample report that you could send me, and that will show me what she is trying to upload in the system, right? So employee names, hours, locations, just the style of the report. That'll be helpful. Okay. And then I'll throw together a DocuSign proposal, and I'll send that to you so you can see the official pricing. And I will throw together a recap email, and I'll include this recording for you so you can share it with your team. And then I'll send you a sample report of that Excel spreadsheet as well.
Could you also send me a sample scheduling screen?
Absolutely.
And is there any discount for nonprofits?
I can check to see if we could work with you guys. You said you had about 50 employees, correct?
Yeah, we have 30 workers in our day program, and we have about, I think I counted 16 staff.
16 staff. Okay.
We're looking at hiring a couple more. I'm not sure exactly how many for our new home. So not sure how that's going to work exactly, but that would be a couple more staff, most likely.
Okay, not a problem. You can add as many employees as you want into our system. So sky's the limit. Okay.
Great.
And then, did you guys have a timeline of hoping to get something in place, or are you just checking out what's available right now?
I'm sort of checking out what's available right now.
Okay.
Right now we're still closed. It's just the staff working, but it would be nice to have, like, if we're going with something, it would be nice to kind of get it going in the next couple months.
Okay.
At least.
All right.
I do have another question. What was my question? Shoot. It had to do. Oh yes. Okay. So let's say our year end was March 31st. So April 1st would have been the start of our fiscal year. So if we start with this program, it would be like mid or a couple months into the new fiscal year. Can we go back and add the information of what was worked starting April 1st, just so that we had the information for the whole fiscal year, for example?
So you can go back and add information retroactively up to 3 months, I believe. So 3 months is the cutoff in the rears.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, 3 months.
But from the day that you sign up, we store all of your information forever. So if you ever need it down the road, you can reach out to us and we can provide you with that information.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
All right. Well, Dominique, I really appreciate your time. Let me throw together some information. I'll send that over to you, and then I'll check back in like a week or so and see where you're at and address any other questions.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks. You too. Bye.